Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Coach Craig's Sports. Today is Thursday, January 5th, and this is the NBA DFS video for today. So in today's video, we'll be taking a look back at yesterday's picks, seeing how they turned out, talking about the injuries in play as a 4-game main slate overall, and then going over to both DraftKings and FanDuel, and talking about my core picks on both sites. But without further ado, we'll get started with a recap of yesterday's picks. So we're going to start off on the DraftKings side with point guard Jalen Brunson, $7,000, looking for 35 points down. He looked like one of the better point per dollar plays on the slate overall yesterday, and he ended up being that as he got to 55.25 points. So he was a massive hit yesterday, almost 8 times his price tag. Then at shooting guard, we had James Harden, $9,800, looking for 49 points down. He looked pretty good once Joel Embiid was ruled out. Ended up getting to 50.5 points, so he was a hit as well. Then a small forward, kind of changed this one around throughout the day. Originally had DeAndre Hunter. He ended up being very good last night as well. But went with Trey Murphy here at $4,800, looking for 24 points down. Had a lot of opportunities last night for the Pelicans. Just didn't really pay off on them. He got to 18.5 points. He was a mess. Mainly just scored the ball yesterday overall. Then at power forward, we went with Jalen McDaniels, $4,400. Looking for 22 points down, got to 31.75, so he was a really good hit yesterday as well. And then last but not least, we had Steven Adams at $5,400. Looking for 27 points down, got to 35.75, so he is a hit as well. If you stuck with kind of my initial core, or the initial plus James Harden, if you have DeAndre Hunter there instead of Trey Murphy, you had a 5 out of 5 day, but since we did have Trey Murphy there 4 out of 5, if he had some other decent plays, you had a pretty good chance of cashing overall yesterday as well. Then on the FanDuel side, we have point guard De'Aaron Fox at $8,500. We're looking for 43 points down. He got to 43.5, so he was a hit. Then at shooting guard, we had Jalen Brunson once again, $7,500. Looking for 38 points down, got to 51.4, so he was a really good hit on FanDuel as well. And then small forward, we had Trey Murphy once again, $4,900, looking for 25 points down. Ended up with 18.5 on FanDuel as well, so he's a mess. As I mentioned on DraftKings, mainly just scored the ball yesterday, not too much else. Then at power forward, we had Jabari Smith at $5,000, looking for 25 points down, got to 39.1, so he was a really good hit yesterday. And then last but not least, we had Thomas Bryant at $6,200, looking for 31 points down, got to 34.3, so he was a hit as well. So 4 out of 5 on FanDuel as well. As long as you had some other decent plays, you had a really good chance of cashing on FanDuel as well. But with that being said, we'll get moved over into the injuries and play for tonight's slate. As I already mentioned, it is a 4-game main slate. We have the first game starting at 7 o'clock, then there's a 7:30, 8 o'clock, and then I believe a 10 o'clock game as well. So it's a little bit more spaced out, kind of more like your traditional Tuesday or Thursday slate, which isn't always the best for DFS, but it kind of is what it is at this point in time. A couple teams are on the back-to-back today. We got the Memphis Grizzlies, who are without Danny Green. Brandon Clark's listed as questionable. Obviously, they're on the back-to-back as well. Last back-to-back, we saw Desmond Bane not play, so we'll see if that's the case once again today. Could open up some value overall. For the Orlando Magic, they are without Mo Wagner, Chuma Okeke, Jonathan Isaac, and Bobo. And then we do have Jalen Suggs listed as questionable. He was also questionable yesterday, but did not end up playing. We'll see whether or not he ends up playing tonight. But he's a little bit overpriced on both sides for, being out for the amount of time that he was, and probably only coming back and playing like 20 to 22 minutes, if he does even end up playing, that is. Then for the Celtics, just Danilo Gallinari out once again, so no changes there. They do get Robert Williams back after missing last game due to, rest with his knee, post-knee surgery type of thing. Then for the Dallas Mavericks, we got Dorian Finney-Smith, Josh Green, and Maxi Kleber all out once again, so no real changes there. Utah Jazz just without Colin Sexton once again. We did see kind of Malik Beasley take a big step up off the bench for them. So he's going to be in play once again. And then could be some other value on this Utah team, but a little bit stabilizing at this point in time. And then for the Houston Rockets, Jayshawn Tate's out tonight. They're on the back-to-back, so it's assumed that Eric Gordon will not play in this game. Could open up a lot of value in Kenya Martin Jr., KJ Martin tonight. And then last but not least, we have the Clippers and the Nuggets. And the Clippers are without Nick Batum. We know that much already. Paul George is questionable. He's dealing with a hamstring injury. He did travel with the team for this game, but he's unsure if he's going to play tonight or not. There is that little green thing next to Kawhi Leonard, but he was not listed on the injury report for today. They are playing a back-to-back today and tomorrow, so he's likely going to be out on the second half of that back-to-back. Then for the Denver Nuggets, we got Colin Gillespie, Jeff Green, and Peyton Watson all out once again. So no real changes there. Nobody impactful on the Nuggets side. But with that being said, that's a quick little rundown on all the injuries in play for tonight's slate. Obviously, only a 4-game slate, so we're going to be watching that Paul George news throughout the day if we get any news there, as well as Brandon Clark and Jalen Suggs. But that's pretty much it at this point in time. Obviously, we'll see whether or not Eric Gordon does get ruled out, but pretty simple slate in terms of injuries so far up to this point. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to DraftKings and talk about my core picks for today. So at the point guard position, we're going to go with Luka Doncic. He's $12,600, so he's very heftily priced at this point in time. Currently having projected for, 62, 63 points. Looking for 63 points out. He's averaging 64.5 so far in the season. Definitely has a very, very strong upside in tonight's game, especially if this is a pretty high-paced back-and-forth game, but obviously he's going to be playing big minutes once again. Then we move down to shooting guard. We're going to go with Malik Beasley here at $5,000. Looking for 25 points out. He's averaging 24.5 so far in the season, essentially. He gets a little bit of a bump up in minutes with no Colin Sexton. A little bit more shots to go around on this team overall. Goes against Houston Rockets. Should be a pretty favorable matchup there as well. If he ends up in that closing lineup, going to look pretty good once again tonight. Then at small forward, we have KJ Martin, Kenyon Martin Jr., $3,500. Only looking for 17, 18 points out. He's averaging 20 so far on the season. In the games where Gordon doesn't play, he typically starts and averages, like 28, 29 minutes. We're seeing games where he's gone over 30 as well. But, at 28, 29 minutes, give him 0.75, 0.8 fantasy points per minute. Gets you about 21 fantasy points. And that's currently what I have him projected at tonight, is that 21 points. And he has a little bit of upside for more if he's out there and he's playing well once again. Then at power forward, we're going to go with Marcus Morris. He's $4,700. Looking for 23, 24 points time. He's averaging just over 25 on the season so far. If Paul George does not end up playing this game, there's a little bit more usage, a little bit more shot volume to go around. That would favor a guy like Marcus Morris once again. And he's been playing pretty well as of late. Currently, I'm projected for 25 points tonight. Definitely looks like a pretty good pay down option or kind of a value option on tonight's slate overall. And then last but not least, at that center position, we're going to go with Steven Adams. You could go with Zubac in this spot as well, especially if Paul George ends up missing. He's only like $4,600. So a pretty good upside play, especially in GPPs tonight. But Steven Adams feels a little bit safer overall. Looking for 28, 29 points out. He's averaging just over 29 on the season. Currently, I'm projected for 29, 30 points tonight. Obviously, if Brandon Clark plays, could limit his minutes a little bit, but if Brandon Clark doesn't play once again, Steven Adams is going to get about as many minutes as he can handle in this game overall. But with that being said, if you go with these 5 players that I do have listed, you're up $18,500 remaining, just under $6,200 per player. So not too much room to pay up for another star player if that's something you really want to do. It's going to be really hard to put Luka and Jokic in the same lineup tonight, but I think there's enough value at center tonight that if you're going to fade one of them, it's probably going to be Jokic more often than not. And Luka is going to be the guy that you want to play. But if you want to build a little bit more balanced approach, you could definitely do that as well. If you're taking Luka out, I've had my original optimal, actually had both them out of it, but then I kind of messed around with a couple more things, and then Luka fit in as well. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to FanDuel and talk about my core picks over there as well. So at the point guard position, you could definitely go with Luka once again here if that's something you want to do. He's $200 more on the FanDuel side. He's going to be a very popular play tonight. He's going to be a pretty good play once again. Even if he disappoints, he's still going to be one of the higher point scorers on the slate overall. But I went with Jordan Clarkson here at $6,800, looking for 34 points. He's $500 cheaper on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings. He's averaging about 31 so far on the season. A little bit of pace-up spot against Houston tonight. There is no Colin Sexton, so maybe a couple more extra shots to go around once again tonight as well. Currently having projected for 34 points, which is essentially what we're looking for out of him. He does have a little bit upside for more if he's shooting the ball well, if he's getting a couple extra assists here and there, but that kind of upside in terms of assists has been a little bit limited since Mike Conley has returned to the lineup. And then we move down to shooting guard with his teammate Malik Beasley. He's $4,800. Currently, I'm projected for 24, 25 points tonight. We're looking for 24 out of him. He's averaging 23 so far in the season. Once again, it's a pace-up spot against the Houston Rockets tonight. Going to look like a pretty good back-and-forth high-scoring game, hopefully, tonight between these two teams. So definitely want a lot of exposure to this game overall as they have decent prices, and it's going to be pretty back-and-forth and high-paced, I would expect once again. Then we move down to small forward with Kenyon Martin Jr., KJ Martin. He's $3,900. We're looking for 19, 20 points down. That's essentially what he's averaging so far in the season. Once again, not expecting Eric Gordon to play tonight. Kenyon Martin Jr., KJ Martin will be in that starting lineup more likely than not, probably getting 28 minutes or more tonight. Currently projects for 21 fantasy points on FanDuel as well tonight. Has a little bit of upside for more as well. Then at power forward, we're going to go with his teammate Jabari Smith. He's a guy we played yesterday and paid off in a big, big way. $5,000. As long as he doesn't get in foul trouble, he's going to look pretty good. Guy that consistently gets you 25 to 26 points on a slate like this, a smaller slate. You need guys like him on tonight's slate overall. But he does have that upside like last night where we saw 39 points out of him. So a safe play, but a guy that does have upside in GPPs as well. And then last but not least, at that center position, we're going to go with Wendell Carter. He's $5,900. We're looking for 29, 30 points time. He's averaging 31 so far on the season. Currently, I'm projected for 30 points tonight. He ended up playing 30 minutes last night. Would not expect much difference out of him tonight. So it looks like a pretty safe play, especially at that center position where a couple guys are a little bit overpriced at this point in time. But with that being said, if you go with these 5 players that I do have listed here on the FanDuel side, you have $33,600 remaining, $8,400 per player. So once again, if you want to pay up for a Luka Doncic and Nikola Jokic, you could definitely do that. Have to get a little bit creative from there for a couple other pay down spots, but we do have some cheaper values on here already, where if you want to play up for a Luka and then kind of balance build the rest of your lineup from there, that's definitely possible on tonight's slate overall. But with that being said, these are my core 5 picks for both FanDuel and DraftKings for today, January 5th. As always, if you have any questions related to NBA DFS, be sure to leave them down in the comments and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. Also, be sure to note whether those questions are more FanDuel or DraftKings specific so I can best help you as quickly and as efficiently as possible. And then also be sure to let me know your favorite play on tonight's slate, whether it's someone from my core 5 or whether it's a completely different player. Maybe a little bit less of a chance today that it's someone different since it is a 4-game slate overall, but there is always that chance and definitely interested in hearing what you guys have to say. And then as always, I'll be listing all the injury updates throughout the day as well as many starting lineups as I can get to tonight. And then about 20 to 30 minutes prior to lock, I will be listing my updated core if there are any changes between now and then if there are any changes as we get moving along throughout the night as well. But with that being said, if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build a community that we're trying to build here at CoachCraigSports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now, it's mainly NBA DFS. We've got one last week of NFL DFS. It's kind of the Week 18 madness where we get some guys starting for cheaper values than we would normally otherwise. But definitely be sure to check that out over on my Patreon and over at WeBetATS.com for my NFL cheat sheets for the week as well. And then with that being said, if you're a newer current subscriber who is yet to do so, also be sure to hit that notification bell down below. It's going to let you know every single time I post up a new video. Like I've been saying, I post up daily NBA DFS core pick videos just like this, Monday through Friday. Got a little bit of NFL DFS content going around that'll be coming to an end after this week. And then hopefully we'll be doing some NFL draft videos as we get closer to the NFL draft season. But with that being said, that's all I have for today's video. Hopefully you all enjoyed. And then last but not least, special little shout out to each and every one of you watching today's video. I truly appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this video. Definitely means a lot to me, and I hope each and every one of you has a great rest of your day.